Let's focus now on the star of the show, really, against Italy. Although he didn't score, he had the biggest impact, I think is fair to say, and that is Jude Bellingham. Where does he rank at the moment in world football in terms of midfielders for you, Tim?
I guess in terms of what he's doing for Real Madrid and England, you'd be hard pressed to find a better one. And yeah, England might have lost without him last night. They were playing like puddings for about 20 minutes, and it was him who grabbed the crowd and the team. Like just before the penalty, he was getting. I know it's an easy thing to do, flail your arms around, but for a kid to be doing this, it just shows the leadership side of him. He's I watched him at Hampden Park. I think it's the first time I've seen him in the flesh, and he stands out so much. Physically, he's a unit, by the way. But it felt like at Wembley, he had everyone in the stadium in the palm of his hand. He had his teammates constantly trying to feed him and play through him. He had Italy revolving their defensive strategy around stopping him, and then you had the crowd all looking to him, and then he delivers. He reminded me of sort of early Rooney a little bit, but also Gerrard. It was a very Gerrard-esque take the game by the scruff of the neck and drag England through kind of performance. Plus he's got, for the second goal, he's sliding tackle outside his own box, and then he's lobbing a player in the opposition half. But then he has the awareness to lay it off for Rashford rather than trying to do it all himself. So
and then the run to create space as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like Gerrard, he could probably play in any position on the pitch. But he differs from Gerrard in that he's better technically, I think, and he's far more advanced at his age than Gerrard was at his age. And that doesn't mean that Bellingham's going to get better and better and better. This might be the best we ever see of him. But
well, you've got this sort of worry, haven't you?
I am worried
because we spoke about this on the weekend preview about the fact. We got you to select your teams for Euro 2028. Which is obviously a well-trodden path, and some people do it, and then you look at the teams and you go, well, they're not playing anymore, etc., etc. You didn't pick Jude Bellingham because you didn't think he's going to be playing them because he's playing too much now. So you are concerned about that, aren't you?
You're putting far too much credence into this team that took me two minutes to cobble together.
You do think he's playing too much, don't you?
Yeah, I was. It was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I did kind of foresee that Bellingham will be injured for that tournament. Because, if he's playing 70 games a season, like he might do for the next 6 years, having started at such a young age, there's a stat that FIFPro put out that said he's played 15,000 minutes by the age of 20. And when you compare that to like Lampard and Gerrard, they were down like 2,000-3,000. So there's a huge difference, and far more than Rooney as well. So there's a huge difference in the amount of football he's been playing. Yes, there are massive advancements in sports science, but it's hard to see that he's still going to be doing this age 38. I think we can certainly suggest and theorise that he may be a player that has an early peak, and then because he plays so much football in the early stage of the career, that might lessen as he gets older.
Gareth Southgate, after the game against Italy, basically did say that he has been the catalyst for a sort of a step up for England, and obviously he's enjoying having someone like him in his team. Do you think that this is just a simple case of now just building a team around Jude Bellingham, Adam?
I don't know. I mean, the word I'd use about Bellingham is just undeniable, right? Like anyone could watch him, and I don't think you could find anyone at the moment who would say, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Right? It is just so... It's a weird comparison. I was on a sort of like a YouTube rabbit hole the other day, and it gave me like a clip of the singing show The Voice, right, where you've got these 4 judges all facing the other way, and then someone starts singing, and it's just like an immediate, you're pressing the button, right? You're watching him, and he's just making you turn around and pay attention. And that's the way I feel about him at the moment, that there just isn't a fault in his game. There isn't a weakness in his game. And I know we sometimes get carried away about young players, but this guy is he is exactly what everyone is saying he is. And I think where he's important for England is that this squad has pretty much stayed reasonably consistent in terms of the makeup of it and the players that we see in the starting lineup. Even if you go back, maybe to sort of certainly from Euro 2020, and what he gives is that freshness and that element of difference and unpredictability. I thought his performance last night was was really good. I thought the Scotland one was like mind-blowingly good. Like one of the best performances I can remember from an England player. It was like every time he took the ball, it was like.
Well, just say the Scotland fans applauded him off, a small section of Scotland fans, and from the way that they started the night, you couldn't even hear the national anthem before the game because they hate the English so much, and some of them were applauding him off. It was remarkable.
Yeah, I remember when Pogba was a lot younger. I think one of the sort of Italian newspapers described him as like, he was sort of saying like built like an NBA athlete, but with Brazilian samba feet, and that's kind of where I look at Bellingham now, like as you say, like physically incredibly imposing. He's got all the physical attributes. He's fast, he's strong, he's so skillful. He keeps the ball. He's not careless. He makes good decisions. Everything you want from a midfield player, and you could put him in any part of that midfield, right? You could ask him to man mark someone, and I think he'd do really well. You could ask him to play off a striker, as he's doing for Real Madrid, which I don't think anyone had really seen him like that before this season. If you'd have asked someone in July, where do you think Bellingham will play for Real Madrid? I don't think most people were thinking off the striker. And in terms of his longevity, I think what will make him be able to be that sort of longer term player is he will have to become a kind of later era Scholes or Gerrard that evolves into that quarterback. Because I suppose the one thing maybe at the moment he's not really got the opportunity to do because he's not playing there, is dictate a game from deep, right? Like to really dictate the tempo of the game in the way that a Pirlo or a Xavi or Scholes might do. But he's not being asked to do that. He probably could if he was, given 10 games to go and do it.
It's interesting as well when you think back to the World Cup, watching him there, he was very willing to step in, even though it was his first tournament, step in terms of being a leader. And it's interesting now that, you were thinking with Harry Kane at the World Cup, is he sort of challenging him too much? Is he being too authoritative? Is he stepping out of where he should be? Now it seems that it's perfect, and Harry Kane, who did so well in that game against Italy as well, it seems like those two, who are both playing away from the Premier League, are stepping back into that England camp and fusing really, really well at the right time. Yeah,
it's interesting you say about his sort of telling others what to do was an issue that came up at Dortmund after he left, of course. But if he backs it up with the performances that he's delivering for Real Madrid and England, then that won't be a problem, as he's doing in pretty much every game he's played at the moment. It's the purple patch he's in is insane.
It's 11 goals for club and country already this season. In the games he's not scoring, he's man of the match. Right? It is freakishly good. I mean, it's without getting carried away. If he was to maintain this through to the Euros, it's Ballon d'Or kind of discussion levels of performance. No pressure. Yeah, golden boy at a minimum, I think. But it's interesting. Adam's described the perfect player there, but it doesn't feel like the country's going nuts over Bellingham. And do you think it helps that he's not playing here? Because there is not that kind of tribal. He plays for Arsenal or Liverpool or Manchester United, therefore he's not as good as, you'd have people say, he's not as good as Enzo Fernandez, or he's not as good as Declan Rice. It's like there isn't that kind of division. There's almost just this appreciation and slight wonder because it's happening at a bit of a distance.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that definitely counted against sort of Rooney after he moved to Man United, because Man United is a club that the majority of the country, love to hate. And I also think that played into the sort of a freakishly good player doing wonderful things in every game that we saw a year ago with Haaland, because he plays for Man City, who are not quite as hateable, and the admiration was from the whole country for him. And it feels like we should be like that about Bellingham, but we're just not quite at that level, because, as Adam says, because he's playing in Spain.
If you like this video, click subscribe for more content like this. We'll be joined by the likes of David Ornstein, Matt Slater, Adam Crafton, Carl Anker, and plenty more through the season to bring you the inside track to the biggest stories in football. If you'd like to listen to the full episodes for free, search the Athletic Football Podcast wherever you get your podcasts from.